All right, guys, we're back. That cannot be the intro. All right, you guys ready to start the podcast?
Let's do it. That's good.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Little Real Estate Podcast. I asked our producer if Mr. Producer is his name, if I could have a soundboard, and he said he'd look into it. But for now, I just thought I'd play my own welcome cheering because you guys are a big deal, man.
We'll let the producer have the soundboard in the background.
Yeah. I need to stick to mortgages and not doing podcast soundboarding. So, okay. Well, before we jump in to today's podcast, I usually do an introduction for you guys, but I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves. What's your name? What do you do? Why should anybody listen to this podcast today? Josh, you can go first.
Well, I'm Josh Sprague. I've been in real estate since 2021, give or take. I started when I was at TCU. I have a whole kind of story about that. Was never expecting to be in residential real estate. Was thinking something more corporate finance wise, maybe investment banking, but ended up in real estate. And I'm here today. I'm currently at Monument Realty.
All right, Ben.
Well, I've been in real estate since 2016. So before everything went crazy, I've had my broker's license since 2020. I started off as a transaction coordinator, did that for about 4 or 5 years, and then switched over to Monument. Closed over 150 transactions, 32 in the last year.
That's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
That's almost 3 a month.
Yeah.
If you do math. How many did you close last year?
In 2025, I did.
I know that's like, I hate it, by the way. When people are like, oh, I closed this many deals.
Yeah.
That's always one of my pet peeves. But I'm asking, so you have permission.
And I will
I said
say,
it first.
Yeah, Ben started it. Ben came in here flexing.
There's a fine line though, because I agree. Like I don't like when people are just coming out and saying that, but I do think that it gives people the confidence like in you. So there's like a fine line of like, I'm not trying to brag. I'm not trying to like be me. But like at the same time, I do believe that a consumer would be a lot more confident in a person that's, closing 30 plus transactions a year than someone who, maybe got their license recently and is closing 1 or 2 deals a year. And I kind of say that because at this point, since I've started, I've closed over 100 deals. Last year, I closed 44 deals for $17 million. And I do think that
It's cooking.
I do think that it makes a difference because even with 100 plus transactions under my belt now, I still come into these very specific situations where it's like, wow, if I didn't have this experience, I don't know if I would know how to handle this. And honestly, I still look back on when I first got started and I was representing people and I go, could I have done something differently? The knowledge that I have now, I think would have made me potentially advise in a different way when I first got started. So although I agree, it's not all about transaction count and this and that.
Yeah.
I do believe that experience significantly helps consumers that you're representing and making sure that they're making the right decision, that you're advising them in the right way.
What's funny is, so Josh and I met when he was still at TCU as a student, had his real estate license, got roped into like some student housing deal, which I'm pretty sure was illegal. That's a joke.
That definitely was not
illegal. Totally kidding. But he was doing some student housing thing, and I was literally brand new. I think you might have been one of the first 3 people that I just called. And so at the time I went on like your real estate roster or whatever and went to the bottom of the page because I was like, I don't want to call anybody at the top because these people know what they're doing. So I was like, who's at the bottom? And it was alphabetical. So you were like maybe the 3rd person that I called. And so we went and had coffee and you were like a student at TCU. I had literally never done a mortgage. I don't think. Maybe I'd done one.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that you say that now because it's like, oh, I'm this expert. I've done all these deals. But I remember you and myself whenever we were both like the guys that people were taking a chance on. And I feel like we made it through okay.
No, we did. It was a cold call. We went to Ascension Coffee. You brought me a sales book about how to be a good salesman. I think about something along those lines. It's still in my my cupboard. Need to find a day to open that thing up and check it out. Yeah. But no, it worked out.
Dude, Ben, you've been licensed for 140 years and you're only 30.
Yep.
When did you get your license? How old were you?
I was 18. I got it as soon as I was of age to get my license. So my mom was doing it and I was like, I might as well just get it while I was in college.
Yeah. You got that in a pack of cigs because you're on your 18th birthday.
Yeah.
Celebrate the right way.
I actually still, Ben knows this. When I have a question, Ben is my first phone call. Ben's got his broker's license. So I do not have my broker's license. So Ben has been in the industry longer. He's got his broker's license. And absolutely, when I have a question, Ben's my first phone call. So Ben even knows significantly more about very specific situations than I do.
It just comes with experience.
Yeah.
I always call myself like a real estate consultant when I'm meeting with people. Because I'm like, if we're not the best fit, like I'll at least advise you on like what I think you should do.
You're like, I've been doing this for long enough that you can be like everyone's proverbial grandparent through the transaction. You need to look for the pipes. That's funny. Ben and I have actually known each other longer than Josh and I have known each other, kind of.
Fish camp.
Yeah. For those Aggies out there.
The Texas boys.
I was, for the Texas boys, I was a fish camp counselor, which is like Texas A&M's like intro to the cult, basically. And we actually have a picture together.
We do. Yeah, we did have a picture together.
In 2016.
Yeah, it was like I was at the time going to go to A&M.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were one of my counselors.
Yeah.
I think you had your hair dyed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Please.
Have you ever seen those?
Please.
Like what they do?
No.
It's like a full on, like the counselors, they'll dye their hair and like they get into like this mode.
Should have opened this can of worms.
Is this like a Texas based?
No, it's like an A&M thing.
So Texas based. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
A&M thing. Jake's still wearing his ring.
I am.
He's all about the A&M things.
Hey, I went to Tarleton. I'm still technically in the system.
That is in the system. That is kind of in the system. I think Tarleton claims A&M and A&M.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, Tarleton's over there. That's a thing that happens.
Now's a good time to say I'm from San Diego, California. So I am one of those California transplants who came here for TCU, but realized very quickly, like a lot of people do, how amazing Fort Worth is. And I actually think it has a lot of similarities, believe it or not, to
Wait,
San Diego.
Except for the weather.
And we've had some
people,
pretty good weather this year.
Real estate,
Yeah.
the food.
There's no wonder that a lot of people tend to enjoy
You
their
actually
time
think
out
it's
here.
similar?
I think it's similar in just like a lot of ways about kind of day-to-day life, in all honesty. I think culturally it's very similar. I think TCU kind of being a pretty prevalent part about Fort Worth drives a lot of California people out here initially for TCU. And I think a lot of people like me kind of stay around and then tell like our friends and family how great it is. And so I think that brings a lot of other people from, San Diego, Southern California, things like that out to Fort Worth. And so I think it's not necessarily similar just because of the way that Fort Worth is, but also there is a lot of people from Southern California that live here now. And so I think that it's getting a lot of similarities because there is a lot of people, especially from Southern California, moving here, kind of changing some of the culture. But I will say, in a way, I do think that Texas and California, this might get some hate or some heat, but I think in a way, Texas and California kind of coming together in different cultural ways is a really awesome combination, in my opinion. I think a lot of people would disagree with that from California and from Texas, but just being here and seeing that firsthand, I think that I, for certain, have become a better person because of a lot of the Texas values that they have out here. And then I don't know, I can't speak for a Texas person. Maybe they don't like any of our California values, but at least for me, it's helped me personally a lot.
Ben, do you appreciate any of the California values?
I
I'm just
mean,
kidding. You don't have to do that. We don't have to answer that.
my wife's from California.
All right, we're gonna steer this podcast. We're gonna steer this podcast back to real estate. No, that's a good perspective. I mean, there's a ton of. I would say, from a mortgage perspective, I will do 10 loans a year for somebody from California, either buying an investment property at TCU, or somebody who's just moving here. So there's something to be said for it. And I've liked all of them. I like you too. I mean, I haven't come across everyone. There's a little Texas, California animosity, but I don't think it's for a good reason. As long as you're using me as your mortgage banker, then I don't really care.
A Texas-based loan
You're
officer.
welcome to yeah. If you use your loan officer in California, then stay in California. Okay, you guys are both top producers at Monument Real Estate. Congratulations on that. That's amazing. You guys clearly have done that year after year. So something you're doing is working. So there's, I don't know who watches this podcast. They don't tell me, but something I did want to ask you is from a real estate perspective and kind of jumping into the real estate stuff is something I've noticed is last year, you either had the best year you've ever had or you've had a terrible year. And both of you guys had great years. And so one thing I wanted to just start us off with is what did you guys change in your business last year that led to you finding success? And one thing I'll throw out there is Monument's model is a little bit different, but not everybody at Monument is a top producer. So I don't think you can just say, oh, Monument's relationship with Realtor.com and Zillow and all that is the single reason, because Monument has more than, how many agents does Monument have?
800.
Yeah, it's a lot. Okay, so what did you guys change in 25? What had to change to continue to thrive?
I would say just continuing to be consistent and build great relationships. So I've been with Monument almost 4 years now. And, like obviously everybody knows the Monument gives us leads and, we work those leads. But once you build relationships with each one of those people, the referrals keep coming. And, just be genuine. And I mean, really it's just consistency. Like, I do all kinds of stuff to get clients, anything from cold calling to leads to, just sphere of influence. But it just grows over time.
Yeah.
I would say for me, and I teach lead conversion classes on this. However, like you said, it's not necessarily just the lead being received why I think I've had success, but the way that I'm approaching that lead. And I do think it's a little bit different for a lead who you've never met before and maybe someone that's, trusted you as their advisor for the last 10 years. But kind of the way that I've been approaching things and I've found in the last 5 years that people really care about saving money, right? If you can help them save money and you can help them become confident that the home that they're buying or the home that they're investing in is a good investment, because at the end of the day, we know real estate is an investment. I think you kind of see those light bulbs go off in their eyes of like, wow, what I was expecting from this agent is to talk about the countertops and talk about the flooring and kind of that selling sunset type of atmosphere. And how I try to approach it is, I think a lot of people can shop for what they want without me. What I'm there for is, hey, how can I save you money in your specific situation? And how can I make sure that the house that you want to move into is the proper investment, right? And I kind of let them shop on their own for something they want. And then once they kind of find something they want, I give them all of the facts and all of the data to support whether or not it's a good investment decision. And one of the kind of examples that I like to use, right, is maybe they find the absolute perfect house. Maybe I agree it's a perfect house, right? But maybe that house is listed $50,000 over what I believe it's worth. So coming in $15,000 under how the buyer may think is a good deal isn't necessarily a good deal, right? We're still overpaying, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's a big common thing. And just kind of give an example on saving money. In this market specifically, one of the things that me and Jake kind of do a lot here in this market is really kind of preach seller concessions and what seller concessions can do for that specific buyer in that specific situation. And so the example I like to use there is, hey, if the house is listed at $450,000 and I think the house is worth $500,000, right? I think the appraisal is going to come in at $500,000. Well, then maybe instead of focusing on the price, we focus on concessions. And I kind of make clear to the seller, a $500,000 house, if it's listed for $500,000, if we wanted to come in at $450,000, which is $50,000 under list price, that's the same thing to the seller as coming in at $500,000 with $50,000 in concessions. But as we both know, $50,000 in concessions can significantly save them more money on their monthly payment and their closing costs at the closing table. So I think that's what's really helped me out a lot.
Man, that what you just explained right there is, I think, honestly, like a little bit of the secret sauce right now. I think there's two kinds of real estate agents. Is one is or like maybe a better way to put it is like two types of leads or prospects or clients or whatever. Like one of them is going to be somebody who calls you that you like have some sort of relationship with, like your sphere basically. Mm-hmm. They're going to work with Ben or Josh regardless. In y'all's business, a lot of the people you work with are people you don't know. And like you walk in and you don't really know them. But what's the fastest way to make friends with somebody is to say, hey, I bet I could save you $300 a month for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, okay, well,
yeah, no kidding.
I don't care. I don't, as much as I love my guy or as much as, at that point, it's like relationships matter. That, people love saving money. And I think the way that both you guys structure offers and negotiate is A, it's beneficial for the client, but B, it also is a unique offering. Because what you just described, I work with a lot of real estate agents. I'm not to dog on the real estate industry, but I think people don't understand that enough, because I will have the conversation with some of our clients that get referred to us and say, hey, here's how I would do my mortgage. Because if you take $10,000 off the price, it's going to save you $60 a month. That's a fact. Not exactly, but close to that. If you take $10,000 and use it for a seller credit on a permanent rate buy down, it's going to save you $280 a month. So it's 2.8 times more effective for your monthly payment. Like, you're going to keep the house for 7 years statistically. And so like at the end of the day, like what you care about most over the next 7 months is what your mortgage payment is going to be. Mm-hmm. And of course, as we've talked about previously on the podcast, the government is going to inflate everything away anyway. So the house value is going to just, go up over time. But I think it's a really unique value offering that you have. I say we pre-qualify people all the time we show them that, we tell them that, and then somehow in translation, the deal gets negotiated with $10,000 off the price every time. It's like, dude.
So, and I had someone ask me this the other day. They said, well, wasn't this the loan officer's job to give this information? And I said, absolutely. But if we don't write the contract in a way that gives the loan officer the opportunity to use concessions and tell the client how they can use the concessions to benefit their personal situation, well, then they can't do it, right?
Yeah.
So we actually, as real estate agents, have to understand what concessions do, because we're the ones writing it into the 1-4 family residential contract, then giving it to the loan officer to go ahead and utilize. And so I think that's where the translation gets lost a little bit, is you are telling the client something, and maybe even telling the agent something, but then when that deal gets negotiated, they kind of forget, hey, this is the concessions that you need in order to make that deal happen. And then the one last thing I'll say about that is the other kind of objection that I get is, well, that's impossible. How are you going to get $30,000 of concessions negotiated in? And in a different market, I think that's true. In this market, I think certainly if you negotiate the right way, you can get $30,000 in concessions. People have a lot of equity out here in Texas. And so they don't feel like you're negotiating against their pocket or against their bank account. They kind of feel like you're negotiating against their equity. So instead of them making $265,000 on their sale, they're making $235,000 on their sale, right? They're still pretty excited about making $235,000. So I've found that it makes negotiating a whole lot easier, especially with people with significant equity.
Interesting. Do you ever find out, can you find out how much equity people have?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Well, you can look up on on MLS or other data websites. You can see number one, you could see if it's been sold before, what they paid for it, and you can see when their mortgage was pulled and how much they have on the mortgage. And then you can kind of back into that. So if somebody bought a house in 22, and let's just say they had a $300,000 note, and you can kind of figure out based on average rate of 22 how much they've paid on that between now and then.
No kidding.
Yeah, you can literally get it exactly. We can pull. Ben pulls cold call list of people that have. Ben doesn't want to talk to somebody that has 6% equity in their house. He wants to talk to somebody that has 75% equity in the house. So you can pull data from websites and then call people that have 75% equity.
Are you still cold calling?
Yeah, I still cold call. Yeah.
Can you just talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I still do expireds, canceleds, withdrawals, and I do that a lot in the rural areas too, for ranches and stuff.
Yeah. Has it ever worked?
Oh yeah, a third of my volume came last year from cold calling.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that there's not a whole lot of agents that actually consistently cold. How many agents do you think in DFW consistently cold call?
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Less than
you
50?
just you're throwing a headset on and you're just burning?
Yeah, I have my wife laughs at me. I've got this little those open run.
Yeah.
It's got a little. You've probably seen me wear it before.
Yeah, I've seen.
But
you look like a truck driver when you.
Yeah, I was when I first started cold calling. It's probably in 2020. Yeah, it was 2024, and I was doing it for quite a few hours a day, and you just burn out. If you do that.
Yeah.
5 days a week. So I turn it down a lot.
I've heard Ben cold call too, and I think the reason that he has a lot of success is because he actually gives good advice, and he's actually been in the industry for a long time, and so usually a lot of people cold calling are newer agents trying to gain clients, and so they're not they may not be the most knowledgeable person when it comes to actually advising the client, but Ben will cold call somebody, and then they'll ask Ben a question, and Ben will give an answer, and they're like, oh shoot, this guy actually is pretty useful. And then they'll keep talking to him, ask him all these other questions, and then it helps him out a lot.
Well, and then once you gain somebody's trust like that, then they refer you.
Yeah.
I had one person last year. I sold their house, and they referred me to a friend. I sold their other house, and then I got a sign call off that house, sold them a house. I mean, it's just dominoes,
That's so crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I know, again, I'm in my role, my whole entire job is knowing realtors. You're the only one I know that cold calls. The only one.
Yeah.
Especially at this level in his business.
Yeah.
Usually the cold calling is.
I've always thought about this. We have some new loan officers starting. One starting in 2 weeks. Two are starting in May. And I'm always looking, because we're in this podcast studio. I don't know if you can see this, but we're in a residential area. So there's houses all around us. And I'm okay, let's say, I think the average commission for a loan officer in the U.S. is between 80 and 125 basis points. So 0.8 to 1.2%. So let's average it out and say it's a percent because it's easy. Let's say each one of these houses is a mortgage of, I don't know, $250,000. It's dude, how much money could you make literally walking down the street, right? I've never tried it, but I think I'm going to do it. Next time I do a podcast, I'm going to just say that I'm going to just commit to doing this now. I'm going to spend 2 hours. I'm going to go knock on doors and see if I can come up with a refinance.
If I get somebody on the phone and I'm like, hey, like, I see why your house didn't sell. Here's what I think. Like, just I'm just giving them free advice. Like, basically, like, here's what I really think. And honestly, like, your other agent had it overpriced. And they're like, oh yeah, I appreciate that.
What's funny is I've got my house listed on the market. I had an Airbnb that I listed, and I took it off the market. And I got a letter in the mail from some realtor that had a letter, and it had clipped at the top of the letter was a $1 bill. It was creative. I'll give him that, because like I opened it, I'm like, oh, look, it's $1.
That is great. That's a good idea.
And so like that's really like that's the one mail advertising I remember from the past year. So it was good for that. But on the other hand, it didn't build trust, right? It was like, oh, that's a cool marketing technique, but like I have no idea who this is. Like, it's different, like just generally marketing and building trust, which I think is what you're doing. Like if I cold called somebody and I was just like, talking about mortgages at a high level, I do think they'd be like, oh yeah, this is different than the robocalls that you get.
Yeah.
It's like a stupid example, but like if a doctor, like if a dentist called you and say, hey, I am, the dentist, and you'd just be like, oh wow, it's an actual dentist calling me.
Yeah.
Not their assistant or whatever. I feel like it's similar with like a guy who's closing a ton of deals.
Way different. Yeah.
Cold calling you. So
way different.
That's so fascinating. What about the ranch and land stuff? Because I know you did a little bit of that. What do you like about doing that? Do you want to do more of that?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I grew up in Stephenville, so I'm very familiar with it. And
Can you explain where Stephenville is?
Yeah, for anybody listening, it's about an hour southwest of DFW.
Stephenville is just about, now you get on 20, and if you head east long enough, you'll get there by around through China. But if you go back west.
Yeah, and it's like, one of the cold calls I did, it was actually in 2024, but I closed it last year. It was a $2.5 million ranch. Just cold called him. And it was north of Stephenville.
Do you think you got it because let me ask this. This is what everybody really wants to know. When you cold call someone from Stephenville, do you talk a little more country?
Yeah, it happens.
It's like, hey, I got this ranch. You're like, well, we sell that thing for $2 million.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, I don't know about that, but he definitely, like, it's cool because people aren't necessarily calling those people in Stephenville, right? They're like, I don't want no land listing, whatnot. They want the listing in, Highland Park. Yeah. So all the people are cold calling the person in Highland Park, and no one's cold calling the land out in Denton, right? Yeah. So what does Ben do? He calls land out in Denton. So these people probably aren't getting cold called at all because everyone wants the flashy properties. Yeah. Ben gets on the phone with them. They're more than happy to talk and get all this experience and knowledge because their house didn't sell. Ben points out all the reasons why it didn't sell, all the reasons he's going to do to make it sell, and then he gets the listings. And I'm like, what a great way to go about it, because no one's calling those land expires. Yeah. They want the flashy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, the people that are calling, it's like a lot of VAs are cold calling. And like you said, they want to talk to they want to talk to a real person that has experience. So
100%. Man, dude, that's so crazy. A $2.5 million ranch on a cold call.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. What's crazy is like you could literally, with most people, you could be like, here's a phone. You'll make $150,000 a year if you just call some people on it. All of them are going to be like, I would rather make a third of that and not have to call people.
Yeah, because the majority of it does suck. I mean, 80% of the time it sucks.
Yeah. Okay, something else is that like we talked about earlier, like I feel like it's the tale of two cities last year. You've got people who crushed it, people who had tough years. What are the things that are killing deals right now?
I was gonna say like a lot of it is just sellers overpricing their properties, and then like, on the buy side, it's a very buyer heavy market. We got tons of inventory. All the buyers know it's a buyer market. Like you're seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
And you got sellers that still have those unrealistic expectations, and so sometimes it's just even talking to their listing agent and like being like, listen, here's where we're at on numbers, and here's the comps that support that, and like you've been on the market. Average days on market is like 60 or more right now. So you either want to sit on the market or you can take a good deal.
Do you think if you sit longer, you as a seller, I'm asking because I'm a seller right now, full transparency, and I think I'm like 18 or 19 days in. I've had 6 showings, which was good. I had 3 the first day, but then it's been kind of like slow ever since. So I priced it knowing it was probably a little bit high, like going into it. And hear me out on this, because I had 2 warring thoughts. One was like, I could price it competitively and probably sell it pretty quickly. But I might be giving some money away because I'm in like a kind of more unique neighborhood. There's not as many houses like mine. around it. And so on one hand, I'm like, okay, if I come in low, I might be giving some money away because I really don't know what it's worth. On the other hand, I don't want to get caught chasing the market down, if you will, where people see my house sit for 60 days and now they're like, ooh, like I want a deal now. Instead of 550, which is what I listed it at, they want to pay 475 because it's been on the market for 60 days. Like, what do you guys think? Like, is it better to anchor high and then hope you get an offer at 525, or is it better to list at 525, hope you get an offer at 520 and just execute and move on? Does that even make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. I think it's a case-by-case basis. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and I'm advising you, is going to run a comparative market analysis, and I can, to the dollar, tell you exactly what it's worth. So we can have our conversation based on what I think it's worth to the dollar. From there, I kind of like to combine both the strategies. I tell people this: there's two things you have to do in this market. One is price it correctly, and two, it's got to show the best in the neighborhood, right? So to be honest with you, not a lot of agents are making the house show the best in the neighborhood. So I think that's a major problem in this market right now is if there's a listing and it's not staged, you are absolutely not doing the best thing to get that house sold as fast as possible. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing, to answer your question about price, in terms of price, you cannot overprice. 1,000% you cannot overprice, right? If I think that house is worth $450,000, there is no world where I'm listing that for $451,000. Why? Because a lot of buyers are looking between $375 to $400 or from $400 to $450. So if you list at $401, you just lost out on that entire buyer pool. So if you're right around a really main price point, like a $400,000, then absolutely pricing matters. Now, if I think the house is worth $378,000, let's go a little high. If I think the house is worth $389,000, does listing at $400,000 as a price, is that going to affect you? Probably not. And I would probably advise at that point to list for $400,000, giving the expectation.
Because of the way searches work, right?
The way searches work. So that's always going through my brain is how are people setting their parameters when they're searching for homes on Zillow, on Realtor.com, in the MLS. And then I base my pricing strategy kind of off of that. So it's okay to overprice a little bit if you're overpricing by 12,000 and you're still kind of within that search parameter, especially given the fact that you're probably going to have a buyer in this market, especially if they're represented by me or Ben, coming with concessions, right? So you're kind of already approaching it with, hey, we're already expecting $10,000 in concessions. So I think there's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah. Do you have any different thoughts than that?
I'm very similar to Josh on it's got to be ready to sell. Like, obviously staging is great.
Yeah.
I would say it just depends on the house, like as far as comping it. I take a little bit of a different route with the sellers where I pretty much will put the data in front of them and say, based on if you were a buyer in this neighborhood and I gave you this data, what would you think your house is worth? Like when they ask me, like, what would you price it at? I normally try to put it back on them and say, like, what do you think? Like, what, based on this data I'm giving you, I'm here to educate you as your, listing agent. What would you think is the best price? Because you got neighborhoods like, for example, like Josh's, Ventano, where you can easily comp a house, like he said, down to the exact dollar. And you can know, like, I'm telling you what this house is going to sell for. And if you want to list it higher, that's your choice. But then you got neighborhoods like, Arlington Heights or Crestwood or like Monticello, where you got houses like that are very nice. You got like new builds, you got larger square footages, and then you got the little like 1,000 square foot. And so there's like a big range of prices. So in that scenario, I'm like, listen, it's pretty much like I'm going to educate you on what the pricing is doing.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and tell you your house isn't going to sell for, we got let's say we got a $400,000 house.
Yeah.
And we've got let's say we have a high comp at 425, even though most of the stuff is lower. I mean, there's a chance you might get the higher price.
Yeah.
And like in that situation, I'm just like, if you as a seller have the time to sit on the market, we could try the higher price, but I'm not going to guarantee you it's going to sell in 30 to 60 days.
I liked your point about in specific areas like that, because I think in places like Arlington Heights and Monticello, people are willing to overpay for a high quality listing, right? No one's willing to overpay in a new construction community for a high quality listing, because high quality listings are a lot more rare in places in well-established neighborhoods like Arlington Heights. So I actually do 100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
And then just touching on that, I love your strategy about like kind of putting the seller in the buyer's position, right? I kind of do a very similar thing on my listing appointments. When I run a comp analysis and I pull up the homes, I tell them to put themselves in the buyer's shoes, right? You're the buyer shopping in this neighborhood. So not necessarily, hey, tell me what your house is worth, but like, hey, you're a buyer shopping in this neighborhood right now. which house are you going for?
Right.
And sometimes we're like, well, honestly, I'd probably go for that other house that isn't ours because it's better priced and it's nicer. And so that's a really easy way to show them like, and this is why you have to be priced correctly, because buyers are going through that same thought process.
This is a little bit of changing the subject here, but you guys run a different business model like we talked about. So, I mean, you can talk about that, but I mean, to make it a long story short, Monument's model is like, there's a lot of provided leads, right, that come in from Zillow and Realtor.com. You guys function in a kind of a non-traditional real estate role. The reason I bring that up is because I want to ask this question. Do you guys think the future of the real estate agent is more like what you guys do today, or do you think it's more like the traditional real estate agent, which is a little bit, a little bit of a different business model?
I think that in terms of the future of the real estate agent, I don't know if it's the future of the real estate agent, but it's the future of capturing that buyer or that seller at the exact perfect time when they're ready to transact.
So
right?
Is that, let me stop you there. Is that the magic?
That's the magic. The magic of Zillow and Realtor.com is
timing.
The timing of that buyer or that seller being ready to transact in the market. And unfortunately, most buyers and most sellers are more willing to click on a button on Zillow, right? If they're on the buy side, and go see a house on their own, then reach out to their agent that they know when they're ready to transact. And I think a lot of that has to do with they might feel like they're going to be pressured into it. They might feel like they're not ready. They're just kind of out there shopping, so they're not ready to reach out to their profession. They don't want to waste their time, right? And so that's what the future to me is this technology that allows us to meet with a buyer or a seller at the exact perfect time that they're starting that process in transacting in real estate. So I do not think that an individual agent, no matter how good their processes and systems are, will ever be as good as a company like Zillow at capturing that perfect moment.
Yeah.
And that's the lead that we pay for. We pay for that perfect captured moment.
The first time I lived in Houston, wouldn't recommend it if you get a chance. I lived in Houston, and I was thinking about buying a house in Houston. This is before I was in real estate business. I was an engineer. I was like, I think I'm going to buy a house in Houston. So I got on Zillow, of course, because that's what everybody does. And I literally I found this house, and I clicked the button, whatever the button is, that and instantly this girl calls, and I thought like, hey, this is the listing agent. I'm just going to like negotiate this purchase right now.
Yeah.
And I just didn't understand how the business worked at all. And like, it's almost hard for us in the business to like get back into that mindset. But like, I literally didn't know anything about anything.
Yeah.
And so this girl calls me, and it was like, I was kind of confused. I was like, what? But if I was going to stick around in Houston, I probably would have just went and met her. And then there's like this social pressure of like, this person's already worked on this. Like, you almost need to like use them as your agent. I don't know, but that's kind of interesting. What do you think, Ben? Do you think anything different?
No, I think it's pretty much the same. I mean, the leads we get from Zillow and Realtor.com are normally warm, so they're going to be purchasing, if not within the next 3 months, normally 6.
Yeah.
And then when they click on the button, like you said, there is like pressure, like, it's like click, show me an agent. But that's when you talk about like you didn't even know. Like most people don't. They think they're talking to the listing agent.
Yeah.
So like when I'm talking to them, even before I initial contact, I'll be like, listen, you understand, I'm not the listing agent, I'm the buyer's agent. Here's my stuff about me. I can show you any house, because you got to kind of dumb it down. Because like in my perspective, I think, oh man, everybody knows you click the button.
Yeah.
But nobody really knows.
Yeah.
And then they don't know. And so I mean, I like the transparency portion of it. I'm totally upfront and transparent about it. And then that's why it's even more important when you're on that showing to provide as much value as possible. I'm going to dump way more value in a 20-minute house showing session on a lead than I'm going to dump on my buddy.
So here's what I think, because like you guys, like, I'll just lay this out here, but you make less for these deals, but it's like you don't have I feel like the biggest expense, backing up here, the biggest expense in the mortgage business, and probably in your business too, is marketing and the cost to capture a lead. Mm-hmm. Like we spend so much money. I mean us at Service First, but I also mean everybody in the mortgage business. Like think about Rocket Mortgage. To sponsor the Rocket Classic, you think that was cheap? Like to have the Rocket commercials at the Super Bowl, you think that is cheap? Like that is, I don't even know how much money is spent just trying to procure a lead. But in y'all's business model, like it's a little bit different because you're as a real estate agent, like you do have sphere stuff, but like the main part of your business, at least in this lead flow model, is like you take less pay, but you're also not having to spend.
So that's
whatever.
exactly. I mean, Monument's taken on, the cost of those leads. I mean, I was paying for Zillow and Realtor.com leads before I even came to Monument. And it's like now I'm not out that monthly cost.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically third-party outsourcing all of the technology and money it takes to capture a lead at the perfect time, and then you're paying them on the back end kind of.
Here's what I think is different about y'all's mindset and your paradigm is like you treat it like an enterprise, like it's business for you guys. I think a lot of real estate agent professionals, and I'm not saying this is good, bad, or indifferent. It just kind of is what it is. A lot of them treat it really personally. Like it's so personal. They're dealing with their brother and their cousin and their pastor and their neighbor. Like these are the people they're working with. So it's like very deeply personal. For you guys, it's a little more enterprise. Like it's, a lot of times you don't, I mean, how about percentage of Zillow leads did you know before you met them? Has that ever happened?
Like
you,
zero.
No.
Yeah.
Sometimes they know somebody that I know.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just think it's like kind of an interesting thing to note is like you guys have developed this like amazing skill of closing. You're like this, almost like a trained assassin. You come in at the right when they're ready to buy, and you convert them, and it's cool.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, and like what you were saying, we do a different paradigm because we understand it's like business to us. It's not personal. Like we know 2 out of 10 of these leads are gonna work out. Our close rate. So like a lot of new agents get frustrated, especially taking leads, because you're eight out of the 10 people you meet are probably never going to talk to you again.
Yeah.
And if maybe they'll talk to you a couple times, and they might even talk to you a few times and then close with somebody else.
Yeah.
It's just a numbers game. It's just you take the amount of leads you're going to take and you're going to close deals.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, I try to have a very wide lens on real estate. And I think that's what's helped me and Ben not get frustrated is like, at the end of the day, we're full-time agents who work a full-time job, just like other people who work full-time jobs, right?
Yeah.
We wake up at a certain time, we go to bed at a certain time, and we work, X amount of days per week. So if you look at it like that in a yearly basis, right? I know for a fact that I can transact 60 deals a year and only need a transaction coordinator, myself, and then obviously like the vendors and things like that, staging, photos, things like that, right? I can work 60 deals a year.
Loan officer.
And then obviously a loan officer. And so when you think about it like that, it's like I can transact 60 deals a year with only a transaction coordinator and then my vendors, my third-party vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And I can wake up every day like a normal person wakes up, and I can drive around and I can meet with clients and I can close 60 deals a year and convert it to 25% conversion rate every single year, no matter how many leads I take. Then I'm not frustrated when I wake up, I drive an hour, to a showing and they don't show up and meet me there, or, they're just not ready to buy, right? Because I know after the year's over, like it is every year,
Dude,
I'm going to take 100 leads, I'm going to convert a 25% conversion rate, and that's going to be my business, right? And so me and Ben this year are doubling the amount of leads that we're going to be taking. So we're going to be taking about 230 leads, converting above a 20% conversion rate this year. And I still don't think that it's going to change my day-to-day life at all, right? It's still going to be wake up, go work 5-6 days a week for 8-10 hours a day and do your thing.
I think in our business, your business model is a lot like mine because I'm in a lead business too. Like the people I work with are not people typically that I know, it's someone that you get referred over as leads.
Yeah.
And the mortgage business is horribly competitive right now. Horribly competitive. There's way too many mortgage lenders out there. It just is what it is. But I think you have to have this, if you're going to do this job or if you're going to do your job, like you have to have this mindset of like, you can't count your chickens before they hatch, or you're going to be really stinking mad and upset and frustrated. And I just say it because I've been there. Somebody refers somebody over. We run 14 different estimates. We tell them how to do, exactly how to do it. And then at the last second, they find like some other lender online that's, $50 a month cheaper, or not even that much. Yeah. $20 a month cheaper, whatever. Sometimes it's not even cheaper. They just get misled into it. That's the most frustrating. But it's like so hard to have this mindset where you're like, you have to have this humility about it where it's like, I'm just going to show up, put the work in and trust that like, it's going to work out in the end.
I think that's with anything too. Like, it's like if the guy in the NFL gets so disappointed that's affecting the rest of his year because he lost a football game, well, then that's not going to help him out at all. In the wide lens point of view, it's like, hey, you can still lose. 3 football games and still win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I think that's with any career and any occupation is like,
Yeah.
have a wide lens view. Don't get frustrated on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
Do everything you can, work as hard as you can, and then evaluate after the year. And if you need to tweak some things, then tweak it for next year.
Dude, I remember like I got really into golf at one point, and I'm like obviously really bad. You guys have seen me play. And I remember like watching Scotty one day, and he like hits the ball in the bunker. And I'm like, oh, he hit it in the bunker. Like I can hit it in the bunker.
Yeah.
And then he pulls out his like 3-wood or whatever in the bunker, takes a whack at it, hits it right into the edge of the bunker, and it lands back at his feet. And it like literally unlocked my brain, dude. It was like, wait a second, like this is the best golfer in the world by a long shot, maybe one of the best ever, could potentially be the best ever. Who knows? Like he's really stinking good at golf. And here he is like doing exactly what I would do in this situation, hitting in the bunker, hitting it in the bunker again. I was going to say the only difference between him and I. There's a lot of differences between him and I.
So he wins
one
3
of the
majors a year.
Yeah. One of the differences is that I get so mad in that situation that I'm like, then I just start hacking at it. And I'll have 15 strokes in the sand. And what he did is grabbed another club, hit it up on the green, and got like a bogey, where I would have a quad or whatever. Partly because you get frustrated about it.
And he knows this happens every year. And at the end of the year, I still win.
I'm gonna be the
2 to
best.
3 majors, and I'm still the best in golf.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it happens, he almost laughs because he's like, oh, it's just part of the process throughout the year.
Yeah.
He knows where he's going to end up.
Yeah.
So
What is like okay, well, I always like to ask this question. What's like a funny, do you have any like crazy funny real estate stories? Like anything that's just like been like, what the heck, man?
start with the vet first.
Man, I have to think about this. I mean, I've had plenty. Plenty.
Like any like listing appointments where you walk in, you're like, what the heck am I doing?
Oh man, I walked into one today. I mean, it was a hoarder house. I mean,
Really?
yeah, she's like, I met with a realtor yesterday. And this is where it's like talking about mindset. She's like, I met with a realtor yesterday. And I mean, this lady's house is packed with stuff. She's older, obviously. But
It takes a while to acquire.
yeah, she's like, the realtor I met with yesterday. And I'd already talked to her on the phone. She's the lead. And she's like, I met with a realtor yesterday that was recommended by a church friend. She came over and she's like, she just wasn't very nice. Like, kind of seemed overwhelmed. And like, you got to remember, like, at the end of the day, everybody's a real person. And so I went in there, I'm just smiling.
Hoarder or not.
Like, her house is full of stuff, and I just smile, and I'm like, we can clean this up. It's no problem. I was like, I got somebody to buy it the way it is. You just want to walk out, and it's just like you have to be nice to people, and just kind of step into their level with them. I don't know. I've had people back out the day before closing, day of closing.
Like,
so.
have you had any at the closing table?
Not like signing. I've gotten close. I've had like arguments at the closing table. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
With who are they arguing with?
Oh, well, one time, you know how you have that affidavit the mortgage company gives you with like all your former names?
Oh, yeah.
So one time I had this couple, and this is a buyer, and they had met like on Match.com or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're at the closing table, and
I love where this is going.
she sees one of his she saw like one of his past names on there, and I don't know why it came up on his thing because it was, anyway. She saw like another last name on his thing, and she's like, "What is that? Like, like, who is that?" And
this is you. You're sitting there.
Yeah, I'm sitting there, and they're nice, but it comes out at closing that he had been married before, and she didn't know about it.
And he changed his name?
No, I think her name, like the other
Somehow
last name,
got
had
associated.
somehow got on there, and she figured out that he had a previous marriage that they had met on Match.com,
And he never told her.
yeah, they never told her.
Did he tell her at the table?
Oh yeah, they all came out and they argued for like 15
So
minutes.
you're sitting
in
there-
front of me.
I'm
in
sorry
the
to
closing
just
table.
rewind, but she goes,
Yeah, she pretty much goes, "You had another wife." Yeah.
and they're married?
Yeah, they're still married. Yeah.
Ben told me that, and now every time that document comes out and I'm at the closing table, I'm always like holding my breath. I mean, there's like 10 different names on there always
Yeah.
because it's like anything you put into like a credit, whatever application or anything of any sort gets pulled from that. So yeah, no, Ben told me that story. Now I sit there and I'm like, is everyone good here? Okay, let's
Oh,
move on.
dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what stinks about my job, dude. That's what stinks is I don't get I get a lot of crazy people, but it's only over the phone,
Yeah.
like you're like, oh, I can tell you'd be crazy in person. That's why we keep the doors locked here, but I don't get to like really, soak it up. Wow. That's crazy. Do you have any good ones? Do you have any crazy real estate
I was
stories?
trying to think of some stories. I mean, I obviously, listings, there's always some stories to tell there. I don't know. I mean, this isn't like a super funny story in my opinion. In my opinion, it's just me kind of doing my job.
Yeah.
But I know my friends love this story. My best friend, who was my roommate, he wanted to buy a house in the community that I live in, the Builder's Trophy Signature Homes, and they were kind of not building for about 7 months. And so when you're not building for 7 months, obviously there's a pretty increase in demand of people that want that builder, especially because in Ventana, that builder is a certain price point, and to get to the next builder, you have to go up, a significant jump to that next price point. So there's this huge demand, and my friend wanted this exact house, right? There's 8 different options, and I'm like asking him, like, hey, are you interested in any of the other 8 options? He's like, no, I only want this specific house with this specific elevation on this specific lot. I was like, okay, like, no worries. Let me go see what the deal is. Cause they were like releasing these homes, right? In like 5 days
When was this?
from that point. This was probably a year and a half ago.
The market was still kind of crazy.
It wasn't like
Not
that crazy, but like new construction builders were like giving all these crazy interest rate incentives, closing costs.
Yeah.
And there's still people buying houses, and especially when a builder's not building for 8 months. And so I went and, talked to the sales rep, and he told me, it's a first come, first serve basis on the houses. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? He's like, it means when the houses come out on X date, the first person here gets the first choice of a house, and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, but like, what time do you guys open that day? And he said, 10 o'clock. And I was like, so if I show up at 10 o'clock, like, I'm good to go. My client gets the house. Well, not necessarily. If someone shows up before you, then they get the house. And so I'm like running this scenario through my head of like, okay, so it's my job as a realtor to get my client the house he wants. So I need to make sure I'm the first person here, right? Pretty simple. So I'm like, all right, I'll get here, I'll get here at 8 o'clock. I'll get here super early, 2 hours before it opens. I'll get my client the house. But then I was kind of going through and I'm like, well, what if she's having this exact same conversation in her head and she's going to get here at 8 o'clock? So then I was like, all right, I'm going to get here at 5 a.m. This is my job to get the client the house. That's super early. We're good to go, no doubt. And then I started thinking to myself, well, my mom wakes up at like 4 a.m. for yoga, and she could easily be here by 4:30, right? So what if she's having the same conversation in her mind that she's going to get here, wake up at the same time she does for yoga, and be at this house at 4 a.m.? So then I was like, all right, last time, I'm going to just get here at midnight. There's no way anyone gets here at midnight, which is the second the day starts, right? The second that they're releasing these houses on that day, I'm going to get here at midnight, and that'll be it. And then I had one last conversation in my head, and I said, there's no way that she's having this conversation, but maybe she is in her own mind too, and she's also getting here at midnight. So I got there at 10 p.m. I sat in my car from 10 until 4 in the morning was my plan. And every 30 minutes, I set my alarm for every 30 minutes. So I basically take these like...
Dog, this is not real.
This is real. I'd basically you've never heard this story? No. I'd basically take these like 30-minute naps in my car, like looking to see if like X other realtor showed up. Dude. And basically I get to like all the way till 4 in the morning. And then at 4 in the morning, she still wasn't there. And so at 4 in the morning, I grabbed my chair because I don't want to be sitting at the doorstep at midnight. Yeah. That's really weird. Like people in my neighborhood call the cops. Yeah. So I go and sit in my chair on the porch at 4 in the morning. And I'm just sitting there kind of waiting. And about 4:45 in the morning, the other realtor shows up, and I'm sitting there.
Okay, so sorry, so there's just 2 of y'all.
What was it, the realtor or the actual buyer?
What was the actual buyer? But I don't want to. It's sad. Obviously, a buyer wants the house. It was the realtor was the mom, and the buyer was the daughter. The daughter showed up first, saw me, called the mom. Then here runs the mom like 10 minutes after.
Did they want the same exact house?
They wanted the exact same house and the exact same lot. And I think that they also kind of got news that like there was another person interested. So yeah, it's honestly sad. Like I felt bad, like, right? Yeah. But it's like, it's my job to get the client the house. But yeah, so I showed up there. I was there at 4 on the chair. She got there at 4:45. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm glad I got here early. Like if I would have got here at 6, like I originally was going to here at 8, like I would have not got that house. So, we ended up sitting there, me and her, until 10 when it opened.
Did you I think she tried to buy y'all out, didn't she?
She was like asking him to buy us out. She was asking, kind of just, making us kind of just trying to walk us through any way that we would go with the other house. But my client really wanted the house. And so me and that realtor sat there pretty awkwardly for about 6 hours, and it opened, and the story does end well. My client got the house. They ended up getting another house on the same street with the same builder. They also ended up getting a good deal on it. Yeah. And I'm sure that they are more than happy with how it ended. But that's kind of a funny story because I ended up sitting in my car for a pretty long time that day.
It is a dog eat dog world.
Yeah.
Man.
Especially when
That's
it's your job to
crazy.
secure the house. There's nothing else that I had to do
crazy.
besides
That was hilarious.
make sure I got there first.
I can't even believe that. I don't even know where to go from here. I feel like that's just the craziest thing. I mean, we could just end the podcast here, but we're getting to the good stuff now. And dude, no, that is crazy. That's also like, I feel like that was like, you know, that reminds me of the closest, this is what I'm picturing. The closest experience I have to anything like that is when Goldie's barbecue. You know what Goldie's barbecue
I've been to Goldie's.
Dude,
I've sat in line.
it's amazing.
I've
This
never
podcast
been
is
there, I don't
officially
think.
sponsored by Goldie's. Go to Goldie's to get the best barbecue in all of DFW and the best barbecue in Texas. It's worth the wait. Go ahead and grab a chair. They've got them lined up, and they used to do free cold beer while you waited. I think they took that away because of Ben. Ben ruined that for us. But yeah, sponsored by Goldie's. Not officially. If you're from Goldie's, we hope this helps your brand and does not hurt your brand. So, okay. So anyway, one time I wanted to go to Goldie's because it's like number one.
You never been?
Oh, I've been.
Oh.
And similarly, like it's like they sell
you're telling
out
the story,
fast. Yeah, it sells out like because this when it just hit number one, everyone was like freaking
I think I know
out
what you're
about
talking
it.
about. I've never been there, but it was like top 5 barbecue places in
Yeah,
Texas. Okay,
yeah, it's crazy. They did like all these. It was all over. I don't know. It was all over TV, and so basically they're like, yeah, they sell out in like an hour. You know, like people like line up. So I'm like, well, dude, I want to go, and I love Texas barbecue. I love to barbecue myself, and so like we showed up at like 4:15 in the morning at Goldie's. It doesn't open until 11. We showed up at 4:15. First person there. I was so excited, and at like 4:16 it started, dude. Like it was like crazy. The next guy showed up. Nobody's from Texas either, by the way. It's kind of interesting. Like, so the next guy shows up and came from St. Louis, and he's like, dude, I wanted to be the first one here because I saw about this. So anyway, that's just what I'm picturing in my mind is like, you know, by 10 a.m. there's like 400 people
camping out for the newest game release at GameStop or the newest
Been there.
COD. Okay, so we're running clean out of time for this podcast, unfortunately, because this has been a lot of fun. But I think I always like to end it with something. It's 2026, and there's a ton going on right now in the real estate world. Trump's announced $200 billion purchase of mortgage-backed securities. It appears that there's something's going to happen with Greenland. So what are you guys expecting for 2026 from a business perspective?
in terms of like what I'm expecting to see from like clients' mindsets going into it, how I'm going to approach it.
Yes.
I mean, I think that kind of no matter what's going on in the background, I think I kind of like to still approach it in the same way of let's see where the market currently is and let's see what I can specifically do to help my clients the best way in this certain market. So I try not to like think about things that haven't happened yet.
Yeah.
I try to think about things that have happened in the best way that I can help the clients out. Also keeping in mind though, the future. So if I have great partners like you who feel pretty solid that interest rates are coming down the next 8 months due to X, Y, and Z, then that obviously changes my current approach on what I'm going to advise.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of your lane a little bit, a little bit more than mine of like, hey, do you do the temporary 2-1 buy down or do you lock it permanently or when do you think you should lock it, throughout the buying process and things like that. So I don't know. I think 2026 is going to be very similar to 2025. And it's a year where I don't see a whole lot of appreciation happening. With home values, I think we'll stay pretty steady, a little bit of appreciation, nothing crazy though, like COVID or anything like that. I think that sellers will continue to give buyer concessions to go ahead and buy down their interest rate, go ahead and reduce their closing costs to help them out a little bit. I think sellers will continue to have to price their home correctly, continue to have to present their home in the best way possible so it shows better than any house in the neighborhood. And I think that buyers will continue to have to work with agents who understand the market and can put them in a good position contract-wise before they go ahead and finalize those terms with their loan officer.
Ben?
I think that everybody always likes to speculate with the rates. Everybody.
They do.
And nobody really knows what's going on.
Fun,
I mean, if you ask somebody what's going to happen in 6 months, if you ask 5 people, you get 5 different answers. Nobody really knows. But I think that like what's going to happen, like pretty much same thing. Stuff's going to stay pretty flat, maybe a little bit of appreciation. I mean, hopefully we went from a huge seller's market to a huge buyer's market. Now we're trying to get back to the middle. And I think it's, if rates continue to trend down to like the mid 5s or low 5s, we'll see that like equal out eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, we when rates get below 6%, it's a light switch in our business. Like the leads are like instantly when rates go back up, it's a light switch again.
Yeah.
And so we've seen that with the $200 billion in mortgage-backed security purchase. That's a mouthful. Immediately, like everybody wanted to refinance.
Yeah, and you're going to see all those people that bought like 2022, 2023, 2024 start to like flood in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a 7.1% interest rate on my
You need
house.
to refinance. Both of you do.
Yeah,
Honestly, both of you guys need to
We're
About
both
2 years
realtors
ago.
and we're over 7. So.
Great time to refinance.
But I got all my closing costs paid for. So
Yeah,
I saved
there you
$20,000
go.
in the day of closing.
There you go. You can always date the house, marry the rate, and harry the pate. I don't know, whatever that saying is. Thank you guys for coming on. Here's my cheering. All right, Josh, Ben.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Check us out on Spotify and YouTube. See you guys.